Welcome back to Story Mode. It's 1989 and I'm 15 years old. I have all these wonderful video games including a Japanese Mega Drive, but the games cost a fortune. So what am I to do? We now head back to 1989, where Tom Petty was free-falling. We had the B-52s, Technotronic, Madonna, Tone Loc, but my favourite was Belinda Carlisle. I cannot believe how many favourite movies of mine are in 1989. It's ridiculous. I can't even do a top 3. So here's my top 5 favourite movies of 1989. A film I watch every Christmas. Born on the 4th of July with Tom Cruise.
Anna, will you dance with me?
Back to the Future Part 2.
He's on a hoverboard!
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
You have chosen wisely.
You know it's going to be James Bond, and it's License to Kill.
I help people with problems.
Problem solver.
I'm more of a problem eliminator.
So it's 1989 and I'm in year 10. I go to the secondary college, Newlands High School. I look back at all the wonderful memories I had at that high school, all the wonderful friends, and I'm still friends with a lot of them today. But in the year 1989, I knew I wanted to get out of high school because really, I wanted to get out in the world. I wanted to become a man. And this is the year I really do think I became into manhood. Even at the age of 15, I just wanted to learn. I wanted to get out there. Now in September of 1989, we had the chance to do work experience, and 2 students each week would leave the classroom and do some type of work experience. It could be a gas fitter, it could be a plumber, it could be an electrician. It could be working in retail, it could be anything. And I chose Myer because I got a lot of fond memories of that department store, such as buying my Commodore 64, buying video games from Myer, even buying my Atari way back in the late 70s. So I began work experience with a friend of mine, Carlos, and we worked there for 2 weeks and I absolutely loved it. So after the 2 weeks work experience, I went up to my mother and said, Mum, I want to leave school and I want to work for Myer. Now, Mum really tried to talk me out of it. She was really insistent that I stay at school and at least complete high school and go up to year 12. So as the year rolled on, I managed to get a casual position at Myer in the Christmas tree department, selling Christmas trees and decorations and all that wonderful stuff. While working there, and I did a good job, I asked the main manager there, the floor manager, could I have a casual job working in the computer department next year? So he called me into his office the next day and gave me a second interview. This is to work for the computer department because Christmas trees is one thing, but working for the computer department, selling typewriters, remember them? Typewriters, and answering machines and cordless telephones and computers, you have to know your stuff, and he wanted to know where I was at. So I had that interview, and the next day after that, he said, Joel, you've got the job. You can start just after Christmas, casually, and I'd be getting about 14 hours a week. And hey, that was at least something. There's some money coming in. He said, we'll review your position after a couple of months and we'll give you more hours, maybe put you on part-time and possibly full-time. And this is what I wanted. So I went back to my mother, I told her all about it, and she said, okay, if that's what you want, I can't stop you. And I was determined, I really put up a fight. And then I was in the working force. I started in January, just after being a Christmas casual. I went up to the computer department, which was on the very top floor of Myer. I had 2 fantastic guys I was working with, Paul and Philip, and these guys they made my job easy, basically. They taught me the ropes, and it took me a bit of time to get used to everything, invoicing and dealing with representatives of companies such as Panasonic, Atari, Commodore, all these distributors. You'd be talking to them on at least monthly basis, and you'd have to put through orders. And I'd be ordering games that I think that could be sold, such as, games on Amiga or Atari ST or whatever it may be. And I was absolutely loving it. The position I was in, all this responsibility. I love selling computers. I love computers in general. And I would bring some of my cracks to Myers, some of my demos, and put them on the Maya monitor to kind of get the Amiga to sell, because I was big into the Amiga. I still wasn't unfavorable to the Atari ST. If someone came in and wanted Atari, well, I'd have to, make sure I showed them everything it did. But if they didn't know what they want, I would push them slightly more towards the Amiga, only because I knew so much more about it. And that was a big seller at the time. It technically was a more powerful machine. But then something big happened. And that was, I had a representative of a company. Now, I'm not going to mention that company because I've been told not to mention it. But it's a very big company that used to be a big importer of all sorts of things. Joysticks and keyboards and peripherals and all sorts of things for video games. And this gentleman approached me at Myer and he said, look, is it possible to come and see you after hours? Come to your home and maybe show you something that we may want you to have a look at to see if it's worthwhile bringing this in from Japan. And I said, well, what is it? It's not the Mega Drive, is it? Because the Mega Drive wasn't released in Australia at this time. And he said, no, it's not the Mega Drive, but it's something similar. So the next day comes, he rocks up about 10:30 and he's got this suitcase or briefcase. And he comes inside and I'm just saying, hello, how you going? Now I've known this guy for about a year and I'm ordering games off him, so I know him fairly well. My mum comes out and, explains that she's cooking lunch, and typical mum makes him lunch and all that. And he goes, now if I show you this, you cannot tell anybody about it. This is going back then. Now it's fine. And I said, no, I won't say anything. He says, we're thinking of bringing over this console and distributing it in Australia. And we want to hear your opinion. Yeah, okay, just open that suitcase. And he brings out this. Now, I'm not saying he brings out a PC Engine. He brings out this PC Engine. This one here, the one I'm holding now. So this would have been about 1990 at this stage, and I explained that, yes, I know what it is. It's a PC Engine. I tell him a little bit about it. And I said I used to own one, but I pretty much sold it straight away because I couldn't afford to buy games for the Mega Drive and for this. And he said, oh, forget the Mega Drive. That hasn't got the CD-ROM attachment. And I said, yeah, it hasn't, but they are thinking of doing one, Mega CD, a couple of years later. So I'm looking at it and he's a bit shocked that I'm not impressed by it. And he said, let's put some games on. So we go into my bedroom, we connect it up to the TV, and all of a sudden he's looking at my Mega Drive, my Japanese Mega Drive. And he didn't realize I actually imported one over a year ago. And he goes, okay, I've got to have a look at that in a minute, but let's just focus on this. So he brought some games, and I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure Shinobi was there. See, I really can't remember. I just remember Shinobi the most. So I'm playing the game and I'm playing a bit of Shinobi. I go, yeah, this is really good because this is not on the Mega Drive. Revenge of Shinobi is, or Super Shinobi. But I said it's good to have the original. And I'm trying out these other games. I said, oh yeah, it's an awesome console. And he said, well, we're thinking of bringing it over. We're not sure on the retail price, probably around $299. This is back, 1990. And he said, what do you think of it? I said, nah. At this stage, I would have probably been 16. And I just said, why would you bring this out when you've got a 16-bit giant like the Mega Drive? The Mega Drive's far more superior than a PC Engine. Look, I love the PC Engine, don't get me wrong, but I'm not big into the PC Engine. And I think you're wasting your time. Now, this is me at 16. Things change later down the track with this console, but we'll stick on this story for a minute. And he goes, Joel, I thought you loved all video games. I said, I do, but you can't compare the Mega Drive. So he said, let me see this Mega Drive because he's never seen one in person. Keep in mind, still not released in Australia. I put on Tatsujin, Truxton. I put on Forgotten Worlds. I put on Ghouls and Ghosts. I put on all these amazing games. And he's just looking at me thinking, my God, this is definitely superior. I said, I told you. I said, the sound, the graphics, everything about it is better. He said, well, we're still thinking of bringing it in. You reckon it's no good? I said, no. I said, I think you're wasting your time. You'll sell only a handful. You haven't got the advertising. No one knows what PC Engine is. And no one really knows much about NEC being into consoles, except the Japanese. And obviously the Americans with the turbo graphics. And they're even lucky to have that market because it's not as strong as it should be. So he's going, yeah, maybe you're right. I'm going to go and talk to the manager. Just be ready. It might be out in the next few months. They have to convert the console inside to run on a PAL TV. Yeah, we're really seriously looking at this. By the way, he left this with me. I forgot to mention that. And that's why I've got this today. He said, you can have one. And I think they had quite a lot of them, like 10 or 20, I'm not sure. So 4 or 5 months pass and I see him at mine. I go, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while. And he goes, yeah, good. And he's like talking to me and saying, yeah, we might not be going ahead with the PC Engine. I go, that's a shame. And he goes, yeah, I wish you were a bit more favourable to it. And I said, you're sorry, I can't. And he goes, no, I don't want you to change your opinion, but, that may sway us. Anyway, that was it. That's all I heard from him. And then I would have seen him a couple of times, probably a year after that, because I later on left Myer. Now, only in the last few years did I contact this guy again. And he goes, yeah, do you know what? You were the main reason that this didn't come to Australia. Because when I went back and told my boss that Joel said it's no good and the Mega Drive's coming out, this is what he told me only a few years ago. I said, hang on. Are you telling me that I'm responsible for this system not coming to Australia? He goes, yeah, absolutely. He goes, in fact, if you said, this is great, get them in, we would have done it. I mean, how much pressure? Like, I couldn't even believe it. When he told me that, I got chills. And I said, I've got to tell this story someday, hence story mode. This was one of the main reasons. And I have to say, it's weird that I've had a hand in changing the console life of this little console not to make it to the Australian shores. Now, it did come to Australian shores as a grey input, and we will talk about that on the next story. I will say, working at Myer, it taught me so much. I've become friends with the Atari rep. I got a free Lynx, one of the first Lynxes ever made. Not only the first series, but it would have been the first 10,000 Lynxes. I got that, and I was really well looked after by the reps at Myer. And as you can see, I obviously had an impression on a lot of them. We all become friends. I'd go to trade nights and see the latest gadgets, the latest televisions, because I worked in the television department sometimes when it was quiet in computers. And I had so much fun at Myer. But I knew deep down that what I had to do was expand my wings and start my own business. And that's the next story.